All right, this is John Cola with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and I'm coming at you first from my front yard garden here, and I want to encourage all you guys out there, no matter what you guys eat, you guys should be eating more fresh fruits and vegetables, and specifically growing them yourself if you have the means to be able to do that, whether you have some land inside, whether you could get a community garden plot outside, or whether you can grow microgreens and sprouts inside your home, no matter where you live. I encourage you guys to do that because those are some of the best foods that money can buy, and money can buy many of the foods out there. But there are new foods that are, that I'm doing research on all the time that even raise up the bar. I mean, we all know how good kale is, and I have, some dinosaur kale growing back over there. And it's growing amazing, and kale is a very nutrient-rich powerhouse. It's rich in phytochemicals, phytonutrients, and things that can help prevent cancer and, are anti-aging and all this kind of stuff, and it's really good. I mean, even better than kale, in my opinion, for, a good vegetable that's really healthy to eat is this one right here. I'm growing 2 whole beds of it. It's actually called the ashitaba. So with the ashitaba, unfortunately, it's very hard to find it. You'll never find it, at a grocery store to buy the leaves. You might find it at a health food store, actually in the supplement aisle as like a green powder they'll sell you. But I always like to say freshest is always bestest. And you can purchase the seeds of the ashitaba and grow it yourself, and I do actually offer the seeds. I have a video on that when I harvested seeds, and I'm offering to you guys. So at least you have access to, some of the healing plants that I've been researching and growing myself. Another one that I really like a lot for its, properties is called Janira procums, also known as longevity greens, and that has a lot of amazing properties to it, being as a food that's actually a medicine. And if you guys have studied history at all, there's this famous dude named Hippocrates, and he said, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." So that's simply what I'm doing here in my front yard. I'm growing my own food, but also it's medicine. And I believe that, there's no need for medicines, that many people watching this may take drugs and all this kind of stuff. If you lead a healthy lifestyle, I mean, think about it, 100 years ago, right? 200 years ago, did man have all these drugs that people take, pharmaceutical drugs that big companies make that they get millions and get rich on? No, people ate foods of the earth, natural foods, and they're healthy. So while you can grow your own fruits and vegetables and even medicinal foods like the ashitaba, there's one medicinal food that depending on where you live, you cannot grow legally at this time through most of the country, although there are a few states that you can grow this, nutritional powerhouse leafy green, but it's also a controversial topic. So for that, because I am not growing any of this leafy green medicinal food, I'm gonna have to go somewhere where they are actually licensed by the state to do that. So actually that's where we're gonna head to next, and we're gonna talk more about this nutritionally dense leafy green that I believe every American and everybody around the world should be including in a regular basis, along with the fresh leafy greens that you can grow at home or buy at your supermarket. So now I'm here actually in an indoor garden, and as you guys can see, the field of green behind me here, and where I'm at is actually at North Coast Naturals, not-for-profit growing collective that is operated under Prop 215 for legal growing in California for medicinal uses. And yes, the cannabis is the new and upcoming superfood, or more appropriately known as functional food. I'm harvesting my own fresh, non-sprayed, clean green, beyond organic certified leafy greens that I'll be juicing later on. But meanwhile, I want to go ahead and get out of this room because the lighting's all jacked up, and let's go ahead and talk to you guys more about this amazing superfood that unfortunately is under a lot of scrutiny and debate as of late. So now I'm at North Coast Naturals, and they are actually my medicinal cannabis collective that actually grows my plants for me. I posted a picture on Facebook where I juice literally about a pound of the cannabis leaves with celery, 1 head of celery, and like 3 apples. It was an amazing juice to get my fix of this dietary essential, in my opinion. And I know what you guys might be thinking. John, cannabis, that's a drug, man. And yes, I'm gonna talk about that in a second. The way I advocate using the cannabis is in its raw, unrefined, and natural state, right? When you start heating foods, whether that is cannabis leaf or your asparagus or, potatoes, it changes the structure of the food into something deranged. So when you heat up cannabis, you will get high, but when you eat it raw, you will not. When you heat up other foods, there's chemical changes. You lose protein. You create, toxins like heterocyclic amines and acrylamides that are pro-oxidants. And, the foods and the diet I recommend is a diet rich in fresh fruits and fresh vegetables that are full of antioxidants that help keep you young and protect you from disease. For many of you guys that don't know me, I got into, changing my diet because I almost lost my life when I was younger. I had what's called complement immune deficiency, which basically caused me to get spinal meningitis, which I almost lost my life. So since the time I got out of the hospital, I've been on a quest to eat the healthiest foods on the entire planet so that I wouldn't be back in the hospital again, because the doctor said I had, some kind of genetic defect, whereas my immune system was not as strong as a normal person. It's kind of like that movie, The Boy in the Bubble. Well, that guy was like extremely, a poor, weak immune system. A normal person might be here. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, right? And so I really needed to start making dietary changes. And I found that by eating a plant-based, fresh fruit and vegetables primarily in their raw state to have the most level of antioxidants, literally, I've kept a lot younger, stayed a lot younger looking than, my cohorts in high school that are now, overweight, have gray hairs, look rapidly older than what they should be, and also have tons of diseases. So my latest area of research has lately been the cannabis plant, which, of course, people know it as a drug. And if we take out, the DEA's website here, and that's a Drug Enforcement Administration, they basically classify cannabis as a Schedule 1 drug, and I'll read it from here. Schedule 1 drugs are substances or chemicals are defined as drugs with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. Schedule 1 drugs are the most dangerous drugs of all the drug schedules, with potentially severe psychological or physical dependence. Some examples of Schedule 1 drugs are heroin, marijuana, ecstasy, all these other things. But, marijuana is listed as a Schedule 1 drug. So I know many of you guys have been educated that marijuana is bad because of the DEA, But what I want to propose and just share with you guys real quick is a U.S. patent. And you guys can look this up online. Google has them online, Google Patents. You could check out patent number 6630507, dated October 7, 2003. And this is a patent, owned by the U.S. government. And the patent is specifically on cannabinoids as antioxidants and neuroprotectants. So the U.S. government holds a patent on the beneficial antioxidant protective effects of the cannabis plant, but at the same time say there's no medicinal benefits. And then in the abstract it says cannabinoids have been found to have an antioxidant properties. And basically it says this newfound property makes cannabinoids useful in treatment of prophylaxis of a wide variety of oxidative associated diseases, such as ischemic, age-related, inflammatory, and autoimmune diseases. The cannabinoids are found to have particular application as neuroprotectants, for example, in limiting neurological damage following ischemic incidents such as stroke and trauma, and also such as some other diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and even HIV, dementia. So I mean, that's how powerful this plant is, right? One of the things that I've been doing is I've been basically being proactive in my stance for my health by eating fruits and vegetables, which are very protective based on my research with antioxidants, and other anti-disease abilities. And to me, cannabis is just yet another, probably one of the most healing and powerful foods that were put on this planet for us to consume and use, but now we're restricted, due to the government. So next, what I want to do is actually sit down with MIT, the proprietor here that grows all the medicinal cannabis for patients according to the Prop 215 here in California. I also want to let you guys know that I do have a doctor's recommendation for cannabis, and that is why I'm able to get it, to be able to derive the healthy benefits from the cannabis leaf. So anyways, next let's go ahead and interview MIT and talk with them more about the medicinal cannabis and also its uses as a very powerful healing food that I believe everybody should be eating on a daily basis. So now I'm with MIT, the master grower here at North Coast Naturals.
John, welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you here as always, and we're delighted to have you here this evening.
Thanks for having me. And I know what you guys might be thinking, John, what's with the spacesuits, man? So MIT, what's up with that?
So the spacesuits serve a very, very important function here at North Coast. North Coast Naturals is a clean, green certified garden here based in California. It's one of about 50 or so gardens, medicinal gardens based in California that are independently inspected, third-party certified, where they look for all sorts of chemicals, whether it's a pesticide or something that's being used in the root zone as a fertilizer, some sort of synthetic fertilizer. We don't use any of them here. The Clean Green Certification Program is based on the Organic Certification program for conventional food crops. It's conducted by an attorney who actually certifies organic food crops that are conventional, as well as medicinal gardens like ours that are less conventional in the eyes of the federal authorities. So the Clean Green Certification Program is something that we've aspired to for a long time. We achieved it last year. We don't use any sort of chemical pesticides or fertilizers here at North Coast. And the reason for the spacesuits is to be in compliance with the certification processes and protocols. In other words, making sure that we are not bringing any pesticides or agents that are dangerous to our crops in from any sort of outdoor source whatsoever. So we protect ourselves and our clothing this way. We have dedicated clothes that we wear in our gardens, indoors, and these are just some of the things that we do here at North Coast to make sure that we're growing the highest quality medicinals that we can be.
Absolutely. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, basically the Clean Green is like an organic standard for the medicinal cannabis, and this is the collective that I've joined to get my leaves here because I don't want them spraying anything on my leaves that's going to hurt me, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later if you guys are trying to source some leaves or get some leaves for yourselves. So I guess another big question, MIT, that a lot of my viewers may have is, John, cannabis, it's a drug, it's bad. And if you guys are still watching, you want to listen to this part because, as much as cannabis is a drug, in my opinion, if you heat it, it's also a very medicinal food that can also be used as a medicine in its raw and natural state. So, can I get high by juicing 5 kilos of the leaves straight to my head, MIT?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We'll talk a little bit in detail, as much detail as necessary to illustrate the idea of the psychoactive effects that you can achieve with cannabis use versus the non-psychoactive effects that you can achieve with cannabis use, the pros and cons of each, because there are pros and cons with each actually, and how you can use cannabis as an everyday ingredient in your diet to make yourself healthy and to keep yourself healthy, as opposed to conventional drugs that a lot of people have taken for various problems, and also just do it for the purposes of maintaining your overall health and making sure that you're getting all the nutrients that you can get, and also some things that are unique to the cannabis plant when you use it as a dietary staple that you can't get anywhere else. So if you eat this, if you ingest it without heating it, the reality is that there's not enough THC, which is the psychoactive cannabinoid that gets you high, conventionally used. There's not enough of that to actually have any effect on you whatsoever if you eat it or juice it or ingest it in some fashion like that.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I encourage you guys to eat all your foods, fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, raw, because you'll have higher basically nutritive properties, higher, levels of antioxidants and all this kind of stuff that's very protective for us, and that's why I'm consuming my cannabis raw, and it does not get you high. There's a lot of misinformation, out there about this. Now, THC is just one of the cannabinoids. There's many other ones. CBD is a popular one. So do you want to talk about the THCA or THC acid, which is in the raw version, and the THC, which is the one that's going to get you high, MIT?
Yes. So that's an important distinction. The difference between THCA and THC is basically molecularly, there's just a little acid component to the THC molecule when you're looking at the THCA, and it's very unstable. And when you heat the plant matter, and the threshold is, if I'm not mistaken, 80 degrees Celsius. When you heat it up to 80 degrees Celsius or more, the instability associated with that acid component of the molecule breaks off, and you're left with, instead of THCA, THC. And then in the process of heating it, and you smoke it or vaporize it or whatever you're doing, you're going to achieve a psychoactive effect, and you're going to ingest all the cannabinoids associated with them, except for the THCA, because that doesn't exist anymore, except for the CBDA, because that doesn't exist anymore. And you're going to experience, in addition to the high, a number of positive effects. But what you're not going to do is experience the degree of positive effects that you would if you just conventionally consume the plant, either by eating it or by juicing it. So
awesome. Yeah, I mean, I like to eat things raw, and to me, cannabis is just yet another leafy green vegetable that I believe everybody should be including, on a regular basis in their diet for the highest level of health. So MIT, talk to us about the CBD. To me, the CBD is even more important than the THC, because some of the research that I've uncovered is that CBD is anti-cancerous, and I mean, just the plant itself is anti-cancer, anti-diabetic, anti-inflammatory. I mean, think if you could get off your drugs and just have some cannabis so that you could not have the inflammation anymore that many people have due to arthritis and all these things.
Right, exactly. So inflammation is one of the major causes and one of the major correlation sort of states that you have with disease in general. So anything that is healthy and anti-inflammatory is generally going to be good for you. THC is anti-inflammatory, THCA is strong anti-inflammatory, CBD, CBDA also very strong anti-inflammatory. So the interesting thing about CBD, and again, let me just refresh your memory, is you've got THCA, CBDA. When you heat the plant, it goes from those THCA and CBDA molecules to THC and CBD. Focusing on the CBD aspect of the plant, which happens again when you heat it, there's numerous beneficial compounds or consequences rather associated with the ingestion of CBD. So first of all, you have the anti-inflammatory effect that you have with many of the other cannabinoids. But you also have, unique to the CBD, is it can actually not just reduce inflammation, but prevent it in many cases. So there's tremendous health benefits there. It is, as you rightfully said, an anti-carcinogenic agent because it causes cancer cells to commit suicide, essentially. It causes them to kill themselves. That is one of the huge benefits of CBD, which is one of the reasons you're seeing a lot of people focus on higher level CBD strain production and CBD extraction from the plant, and then isolating that CBD and making it available in some sort of commercial way in the states where that's legal. That's one of the reasons it's become more popular, and we're projecting it's going to increase in popularity and use. So that's one of the things that's unique about CBD.
Cool. So how many different strains are actually growing here? I mean, we got a whole bunch of different plants behind us, and you got other modules or rooms with other plants, and some are higher in THC, some are higher in CBD, and they all are different.
Yeah. So every strain has its own particular profile associated with it of cannabinoids, and again, the most popular ones that people focus on are THC and CBD. And we have grown over the past year or so. Every year we take a different approach, but over the past year or so, we've grown probably 45 or 50 different strains, I would say. And what we're constantly doing is evaluating, our ability to, within our facility, grow a certain strain, a certain way with a certain level of quality associated with it, and then see how receptive that strain is in the patient community. And what are patients liking? What are they disliking? What are they using it for? Where can we help the most people in the most ways? And also, where can we grow the best plant? Every different facility, every different garden, every different garden is going to have its own nuances that allow some strains to grow better there than others. So it's a reflexive relationship between the patient community and our garden as to what ends up being produced most by us.
So I wanted to just share with you guys just real quick this little chart here, basically, which is the some of the health benefits from the different cannabinoids. And I mean, there's all different kinds: anti-ischemic, anti-spasmodic, neuroprotective, bone stimulant, antimicrobial, anti-proliferative, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial. I mean, all kinds of different things. Immunosuppressive. So MIT, how many different cannabinoids are there, and what are all the different uses, and are they even known yet?
There's still a tremendous lot of research that's actually being done right now. There's hundreds of different cannabinoids. There's lots of questions about how they interplay together. There's just too much that's still not known to really hone down and say beyond what we know about THC, what we know about CBD. I mean, CBDA, there's still a lot of research to be done and a lot more to be uncovered. The early indications that have been uncovered from the research done associated with that are very, very positive. But there's still a lot to be uncovered. And interestingly, things like dosages, how much you actually intake will affect the way that a certain compound affects you. And CBD is an interesting one. On a low dose, it will make you more energetic and more uplifted. If you take higher doses of a CBD-rich strain or a CBD extraction, it's going to induce sleep, which both of those are great in different scenarios. So these things are still, indications of what's being uncovered right now through the research that's being done.
Right, yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, research is actually quite difficult to get done because, the cannabis is still listed as a class 1 drug. So to get funding and all this stuff to do the research is very difficult, for a lot of people out there. One of the people that I've looked up to, and also I know you've looked up to, is Dr. Courtney.
Yeah.
And you want to maybe give a few words about Dr. Courtney and some of his work and what he's been doing?
Yeah, so Dr. William Courtney is based in California here, and he's I've learned a lot from him about juicing and ingesting cannabis, and he's doing a lot of research and sort of being on the front lines of being a proponent of cannabis juicing, and talking a lot about how this is the ideal way to achieve all the health benefits that the cannabis plant has to offer. You can get up to 100 times the benefit of the anti-inflammatory and other benefits by juicing it or ingesting it as you can by smoking it. And you don't have to, and the beautiful thing about that is then you can achieve those benefits all day long. You don't have to deal with as adults oftentimes have to do when they're using cannabis. You don't have to deal with the psychoactive effects of cannabis use in the morning if you don't want to, and most people don't because they have to work, so they will juice it or they'll eat it or something like that in the form of a salad and get those medicinal properties or those health yielding properties. And Dr. Courtney has been a strong proponent in the community with respect to exposing all of that, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, once again, I want to encourage you guys, besides the cannabis, which is a plenty healthy plant, my probably new top food that's also a medicine, but there's plenty of other fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. I mean, there's a lot of studies on broccoli and how it's anti-cancer, and turmeric, an excellent root for like one of the most powerful anti-inflammatories. I wonder if it's like turmeric and cannabis were head to head and which one's going to perform better for anti-inflammatory. I probably think turmeric still is going to win on that one, but nonetheless, I want you guys to include as many fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet in their raw natural state and especially by juicing them, you're going to get much higher uptakes of these protective nutrients, you know, in fruits and vegetables, as well as the cannabis leaf. So MIT, are there anything else besides the cannabinoids in the cannabis leaf that are healthy for us?
Well, there's a lot of other things in there. So for example, the essential fatty acids that you get from cannabis are, well, first of all, they're essential. So that means that the body can't produce them. You need to source them externally. So, you know, things like the omega-3s, the omega-6s. But the interesting thing about cannabis with respect to those in particular is that the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. So you're not getting too much omega-6 for your omega-3s. You're looking at somewhere between a 3 to a 5 to 1 omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, which is exactly what you need. So that's one big bonus that you get. Aside from that, aside from all the beautiful cannabinoids that you get, hundreds again, from the leaf, you're also going to get things like the terpenes and the diterpenes, the flavonoids, all of those things that we're just beginning to understand how they affect human health and what the relationship is between those things and human health. I mean, I look at cannabis and I juice it. I juice it several times a week, sometimes up to 5 in a good week. And I look at it as a superfood, and others describe it as not just a superfood, but a dietary essential. They look at it as even beyond a superfood because it's going to confer upon you more than just health benefits. And you know, I look at it as something that I'm trying to work into my diet on a daily basis as often as possible. And it's because of all those different ingredients that it has. And I think of it as sort of a vegetable super vitamin, like a super multivitamin. All of those good things in one source, in one plant, and I don't have to you know, get into a state where I can't function at my highest level of productivity to get all those good things into me. I don't have to smoke it if the time isn't right. There are certain benefits to smoking it. You do get the CBDA conversion to the CBD. That won't happen when you juice it. So for me, for my approach, and for a lot of the patients that I know, you want a balanced intake. That's not appropriate for you. I know that you only like to ingest it, you know, via juicing, which is totally fine. But we want to be aware of what all the pros and the cons are, and how to optimize this as we do try to optimize everything else that's productive in life.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, to me, cannabis is not just a superfood, because that's like an overused marketing term. To me, it's like more of a functional food, because it really plays a strong function and can help you out in many different ways, even more than just a superfood that has a superfood label, because people are getting rich off of it. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that, you know, besides just all the terpenes and the cannabinoids, I mean, cannabis is rich in vitamins and minerals. We all need vitamins and minerals in this day and age of eating highly processed foods that have all the, you know, nutrients extracted out. You know, cannabis is yet another leafy green with plenty of vitamins and minerals. And MIT, I really wanted you to talk specifically about your nutrient program that you give these cannabis plants, you know, 70 to 90 plus different trace minerals that most growers, either in organic agriculture, even in, you know, clean green agriculture, just simply not using.
Right, so we are using a full spectrum fertilizer program that's it's very, very involved. But just to give you a quick overview, we're using a lot of the same things that you use in your garden. We're using humus, we're using worm castings, we're using compost teas, we're using rock dust, we're using meals, and by meals I mean feather meal, alfalfa meal, kelp meal. I mean, the soil that we're using in here is a nutrient-dense soil. And then in addition to all the biolife that's in there, that's creating the food soil web, you've got all of those raw compounds that is going to produce some of the healthiest greens that you're going to get. So it's really a customized, tailor-made program to produce the ideal plant, which is then going to confer upon its users the ideal amount of nutrition.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, more growers and farmers just need to start implementing, you know, a really nutrient-dense program to put in the missing nutrients in their soil, because most farmers are not. And even if you're getting cannabis leaves or, you know, using cannabis as a medicine, I would encourage you to seek out growers like MIT that is taking it all to the next level, because everything that's being grown out there is not created equal. I've tasted his leaves, and his leaves are some of the best that I've tasted, and if you're growing with more nutrients in the soil, that means the plant could fully express itself and take up those nutrients. If the nutrients are not in the soil, because somebody's just using a standard hydroponic mix that may contain, generally 3 main minerals, but maybe up to 15 if they're really into it. They contain nowhere near the 70 to 90, and it's not even documented, or we don't really know like what all these minerals do, and why this plant has more this nutrient or whatnot, just because it was grown in a little bit different way that makes a huge difference in the final outcome. MIT, do you want to talk about some of the, because you mostly don't produce the cannabis for the leaves, but you're mainly producing the buds here. Do you want to compare the buds that you grow to maybe another grower's buds that's not using a similar growing methodology?
Fundamentally what you've got in indoor cultivation, you've got a hydroponic approach, and then you have a soil-based all-organic approach. We are obviously the latter, where everything that we use is naturally derived and is approved for organic gardening. If you were to compare the product that we generate here in terms of the final flower to something that's grown hydroponically, let's put aside the question of the aesthetics. In other words, what it's going to smell like, what it's going to taste like when you inhale it, and the way it's going to make you feel, your lungs feel when you inhale it. Putting aside all that, what we have here is something that is much safer and healthier to actually use and inhale, because it's not going to be what is fed. If you think about it, what's fed the plants, it's not going to be a synthetically based chemical nutrient. It's an all natural nutrient. So it's not going to have, let me repeat this, not going to have all the nitrates and all the heavy metals that are associated with synthetic fertilizers, and that when you ingest them by vaporizing or smoking or whatever way you do it, even if you reduce it down to some sort of edible, you're not going to be taking in those harmful cancer causing properties. So you can hold one flower in one hand, one flower in the other hand, they can look roughly the same, smell roughly the same, but be grown totally differently, and the benefits or detriments in one are not necessarily the same as the others. So it's important to understand who your gardener is. You don't have to necessarily get something that's clean green certified. The best gardeners, maybe you, if you're growing it for yourself, or it could be a friend of yours that is using all natural approaches and isn't spraying down the leaves with harmful chemical pesticides that may be carcinogenic, which most growers do. I will repeat that. Most growers in most gardens, indoors and out, are going to use harmful chemical pesticides on their plants, either when they're in this stage, when they're young, or much, much worse, when they're older, more mature, they're in the flower production cycle, and those chemical pesticides are going to get on the flowers. So it's absolutely critical to know who your gardener is, just as it is critical to know who your grocer is.
Yep.
And if you have any control over that whatsoever, make sure that you're asking for clean green certified medicine at the counters of the dispensaries that you go to. And if you know someone that's growing, get an understanding of how they're growing. Are they using hydroponics? Are they using, with chemical-based fertilizer? Are they using an all-natural approach where the plant itself is going to be healthier, and consequently you're going to be healthier when you use it? That's what we do here. That's what we believe in. That's what our entire philosophy is, and what North Coast was founded on.
That's why I sought out North Coast Naturals and joined their collective to get my medicine as well as my leaves. In addition, I want to let you guys know that, all the foods that you eat, you should always support organic agriculture. At least it's some kind of standard to know that they're not spraying really crappy stuff on there, and better yet, grow your own. If you are interested in growing your own cannabis, learning how they do it here at North Coast Naturals, I've made other videos on my YouTube channel, Growing Your Greens. I'll put links down below on, where I give a tour on what they're doing to grow the high quality cannabis leaves they're doing here, as well as one on dealing with pests, and as well as one on actually juicing. So all those links for those videos are actually down below. I do want to go on the record right now to say that, I advocate the use of raw cannabis. That's the way I use it. I do not heat it up. I do not, smoke it. You know, I have not obtained a high or psychoactive effect from this, and that's another way to use cannabis that's not really been talked about, because you think cannabis, you think marijuana, you think smoking it up, getting high. That's not the way that I'm advocating. I mean, if people want to do that in the privacy of their own homes, you know, just don't blow it in my face, and I'm cool with whatever anybody wants to do with that. But for me, the need is particularly from a nutrition standpoint, and you know, besides the nutritive properties of the cannabis, growing food in the highest, you know, and best way possible will make the highest quality food. And that's what I teach on my Growing Your Green channel. If you want to start growing your own high quality fresh fruits and vegetables. And you know, that's why I'm here today, to share this with you guys, because no other raw food teacher that I know of has any videos on cannabis, visiting a grow operation, you know, interviewing the master grower here to share with you guys the tidbits and knowledge, so that when you embark on this very nutritious leafy green, you'll know how to do it, or how to obtain the best leaves possible. So my tips, where can somebody buy leaves? Because I made a Instagram, Facebook post where I juiced like a pound of your leaves that I procured from you, and a head of celery and 3 apples, and people's like, where can I get leaves? So where can people buy leaves?
Leaves are not for sale yet. Leaves are not readily for sale yet. You need to know someone that is cultivating this medicine, and you need to get in contact with them. In California, that's a lot easier. In Alaska soon, that's going to be a lot easier. In Colorado, that's a lot easier. You know, hopefully, about half the United States now has become friendly with respect to medicinal cannabis since 1996. It's been a slow domino effect. Obviously, there's been a lot of momentum in the past couple of years, and it looks like there's no turning back at this point. We'll see what happens. If nothing blows up, it looks like that'll progress, and that'll be good. But they're not readily available. So the best thing that you can do, if you're in a state where it is legal, either in one form or another, recreationally or medicinally, is to grow your own.
Yep.
It's to grow your own. That is the best thing you can possibly do. At North Coast, we're going to be publishing some videos as time goes on, and as we are able to, you know, increase our ability to educate people, at teaching you and helping you understand how to do that in the healthiest ways possible. So we're looking very much forward to that. But if this is intriguing to you, if you want to be healthier, then start thinking along those ways, or start making inquiries in your community about, you know, certain people that you know that may be cultivating, and see if you can get their leaves. A lot of growers, and by a lot I mean something like 99.9%, just pluck these leaves off at different stages of the plant's growth when they're pruning and throw them away. Well, ask if you can maybe contribute. Ask if you can prune for free and get those leaves and use them yourself. I mean, that would be a great thing to do. They would benefit because you're helping the garden, and you would benefit because you're getting the leaves. That's a fantastic idea. Any way that you can get involved in supporting your local cannabis cultivation community in a way that's productive and legal, I would encourage you to do that and think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to encourage you guys too. You know, I am doing this according to Prop 215 here in the state of California, so I'm completely legal. You know, this is not undercover or anything. I'm making videos to share with you guys about this process, because it's so important to me to share with you guys this brand new, you know, functional food that is now being available, you know, in all the states that allow its medicinal use with recommendation from a doctor, and also now certain states that you're just able to grow it, you know, for recreational use and not medicinal use. So MIT, what states can people just start growing the cannabis now legally without a doctor recommendation?
I'm not going to give out any sort of legal advice with respect to that, because I'm not a qualified authority on the matter. But look at your local laws. It's not difficult to find out and see what the ordinances are that you have to comport with to make sure that you're doing it in the right way. You don't want to be, you know, I'm of the opinion that you don't want to be stepping across any lines or putting yourself or your family at risk pursuing this, because I generally think that the authorities most of the time, you know, go by the spirit and the letter of the law, and they're not looking to get people in trouble when they're just simply growing for their own healthy purposes. But I do hear horror stories. I hear horror stories even here in California about people that get, quote, punished by the process, where law enforcement will selectively rip out people's gardens, or do other destructive things, threaten people with acid forfeiture, things like that, because it is not technically, I mean, the fact of the matter is that it's still illegal under federal law, and even though local law enforcement, it is not their job to enforce federal laws. That's the job of federal law enforcement. They will still try and work around the edges in some cases to make themselves a nuisance to the otherwise would-be healthy gardener.
Yeah.
So check your local laws. Talk with local attorneys. If you know someone, just make some phone calls and find out what the rules are. They shouldn't be that difficult to uncover.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain states, and you guys know what states you guys live in. You know, if it is legalized in your states, beyond just the medicinal uses. So yeah, check that out. And if I was in one of those states, I would definitely be growing my own stuff in full accordance, with the state law that I'm living in. So, but yeah, meanwhile, I could just come to MIT because he's growing everything for me, so I don't have to, stick my head out on the line. So thanks, MIT.
My pleasure.
So any other comments that you have on the use of the cannabis for health purposes?
So again, just think about, juicing it is my favorite way. I mix it up with my beets. I mix it up with my celery, with my kale, for all the, with all the other things that I typically juice. I include cannabis. You're going to get the, 1,000 times, up to 1,000 times the amount of health properties that you're going to get by smoking it. You're not going to be limited by how much you can smoke or ingest via an edible or something like that. You're not going to have that limiting factor when you juice it. You can juice as much as you want, presumably, and smoke a little bit too for the CBD, or eat a little bit too for the CBD, something like that, if you think that that's appropriate, if that's something that you're going for. But if what you'll find when you start doing research is that most of the people that have done things like use cannabis to cure cancer, and there's story after story after story out there. They've done it by ingesting it in its raw form. So to your point, John, that is the ideal way of doing it, and making sure that you're going to be as healthy as you can be, or cure whatever problem that you're having to the greatest effect that you possibly can. I read about one woman, for example, that had rheumatoid arthritis, and after 12 days of juicing the plant and actually working that into a smoothie, which has the fats associated with it, so when she's ingesting it, she gets greater absorption. After 12 simple days of doing that, she could stop taking the prescription medication that she'd been given for her rheumatoid arthritis. And she keeps it up every day, otherwise she'll slide back into her original state, but that's now part of her life. And instead of taking a bunch of prescription drugs, she's simply juicing this, simply drinking it as part of her daily routine, and she's much happier and much healthier.
Well, I mean, the one nutrient that you guys need the most in the world is the one you're not getting. So if you're not getting cannabinoids in your diet now, and yes, even mother's breast milk contains cannabinoids, and we have what's called an cannabinoid system in us, and with receptor sites for these cannabinoids. So MIT, let's talk about that. You mentioned about, maybe mixing the cannabis juice with a fat to help increase the uptake, because the cannabinoids are fat soluble, right?
Exactly. So, and John, you probably know this better than I. When you do actually mix the juice, so the way that I typically do it is I'll take, as I mentioned earlier, the cannabis leaf, and I'll juice it with my other, vegetables that I typically juice to make the North Coast cocktail, as we call it here. But the other alternative is to mix it with a fatty-based substance like a yogurt or a coconut milk or something like that. So if you were to do something like that, what that's going to do is the fat in the coconut milk or in the yogurt or what have you, or just regular milk or even ice cream, if you're so inclined, that fat is going to adhere to the properties in the juice that are fat soluble, and increase your absorption of those properties of the cannabinoids.
Right. Yeah. So I don't advocate the use of animal milk products or yogurts, but I would advocate the use of something like the coconut milk, almond milk, or other nut and seed milk. So, pretty soon I will have a video showing my process for basically extracting the cannabis juice along with coconut milk fresh from a coconut at the same time, in one of my favorite juicers. So stay tuned for that episode coming up really soon, when I'll be able to share that with you guys.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's gonna be mind blowing, because I want to encourage you guys to eat fresh foods, right? I'm eating like fresh cannabis leaves, in salads. I'm using the little baby buds in like soups, fresh. I'm juicing the leaves. I eat all my other, produce raw in my diet. And, as much and as good as cannabis is, I want to encourage you guys to make healthy dietary choices regardless of cannabis or not. I mean, I think everybody should be eating more fresh fruits and vegetables and minimizing other things they're eating in their life, whether that's animal products, whether that's dairy, which I believe is more insidious than actually, meats. Also, getting rid of all the processed foods, because it's these foods, in my opinion, that have caused the health ailments that many of you guys watching this video are ailing from, and by simply changing your diet and getting more fresh juices, fresh cannabis juices, fresh kale juice, fresh ashwagandha juice, all the different things that I grow in my garden and teach you guys, I truly believe you will be healthy because of it, and I know I am. I mean, the other thing for me is that, I don't want to wait until it's too late to find out that, man, what if I would have started drinking cannabis juice 5 years earlier? Maybe I wouldn't have got this crazy disease or whatever. I don't want to think about that day. I'm just going to be juicing cannabis now because I know it's so good for me, and I'm heading off, the doctor. I mean, the famous saying is, an apple a day keeps a doctor away. Well, how about a glass of cannabis juice a day keeps a doctor away, right? And so, but it's not just cannabis juice. It could be with kale juice and all these other things that I include on a daily basis to basically be proactive, and like it's like changing your engine oil regularly and changing your oil filter to keep your car running. I mean, my auto shop teacher to this day, I remember, he's like, if you want your car to last forever, change your oil on your birthday every single month, no matter you drove 5 miles or 3,000 miles. Change it every single month and your car will pretty much last forever, right? And I'm being proactive like that in my daily life by eating the healthy foods and not eating the foods that are not healthy. So today we've shared with you guys some definite information about the cannabis, but nowhere near the amount of information that is available online. So if you want to learn more, MIT, how can somebody learn more about the raw cannabis juice and the benefits of raw cannabis?
Well, there's a couple different places, and like we said earlier, North Coast is going to be coming out with a suite of information that we can help you guys understand what it is that we're doing here that you guys can do at home. But if you're interested in juicing and the raw food component of cannabis specifically, there are few better places to go to than cannabisinternational.org, which is a site that is just packed with information from one of the leading authorities on the subject. So cannabisinternational.org, I know I've been there, I think you've been there, and a lot of other people I know that are well versed in the benefits of this plant are familiar with this site and with Dr. William Courtney as well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree. Check out that website, learn about the raw cannabis, Cannabis can be absolutely abused, but also, it's an amazing plant that should be legalized everywhere. I mean, even the government, it doesn't know what one hand is doing, the other hand isn't doing, because in one place it's illegal, in the other place they own patents on its antioxidant properties and how it can benefit so many different health conditions. And I'm all about using, plants as medicine and not having to take things like pharmaceutical drugs. So, my whole goal with this YouTube channel is to teach you guys how to be healthy so that you will not have to, go to the alternatives. And once again, we're gonna, be proactive instead of reactive in our approach. And this is what I had to learn at a young age after I got sick and almost didn't make it out of the hospital. I had to learn how to be proactive so that I never got sick again. And that's what I really want to put out there for you guys and let you guys know that cannabis is yet just another very nutritious food that I believe everybody should be including on a daily basis. And if you can't get the cannabis because it's not legal where you live, don't worry, there's plenty of other beneficial leafy greens. Two of the ones you might want to look up is called the ashwagandha, and another one is called neuroprotectants, or also known as longevity greens. They're kind of up there with cannabis. Probably those are my top three, essential leafy greens that people should be including on an everyday basis in their diet to have the highest level of health. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you like this episode on cannabis and would like me to have more episodes on cannabis, returning here to visit MIT at North Coast, please give me a thumbs up. Also be sure to subscribe to me if you're not already. to get future updates. And be sure to check my past episodes. I have over 300 episodes on this YouTube channel letting you guys know how to be ultimately healthy by including more fresh fruits and vegetables, including raw cannabis in your diet. Once again, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables, including raw cannabis. It's always the best.
All right, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and good morning. All right, I don't know when you guys are watching this, but it's morning time for me, and in this episode, what I'd like to do today is share with you guys what I eat in a day when I'm with my girlfriend. So I'm here at